When you close your eyes, you're in another reality. But when you open your eyes, you're back in this one. The thing is, though, that your eyes don't want to stay open. You imagine that you're living your life in a bubble, and within that bubble is your reality. And then someone comes along and without any warning pops the bubble. And suddenly information, concepts are pouring into your conscious mind in a way that's so massive, it's like pressing too many keys on a computer. The computer freezes, I can't process this information, it's too much. Most people live in a prison called fearing what other people think. And when you fear or you're concerned about what other people think, you're not you anymore. You are what you are expected to be by those you don't want abuse or criticism or ridicule. So you conform to the norm so that you're not called crazy, you're not laughed at in the street or laughed at on social media and stuff. And you have gone. You're now a construct of someone else's version of what you should be. And most people are not saying what they really believe. They're not living their life as they really want to live it because they fear what will other people think. What will the people at work think? The people down the bar? What will my mother say? And all this stuff. But when you are faced with the scale of ridicule that I went through, you've got a choice. You can end up in the corner, shaking, or just withdraw from the world. Or you can come out, honed in the fire. You're the one with the power. The power is not with the abuser, it's with the receiver in how they receive the abuse. And you can say, you can fall apart because they're saying this stuff about them. And that's a reaction to it that's going to destroy you. If I consider consequences of doing something that I believe to be right, I'm actually considering compromising doing what I believe to be right because I've had consequences for me. No, you do what you believe to be right. Consequences are a prison. The world is controlled by basically a spider's web. Spider's web is a brilliant symbol of it. You've got the spider at the center of the web, which is deep in the shadows. You won't see them in the light. And then the strands in the web immediately around the spider are the most exclusive secret societies. And so these cusp organizations are there to take the agenda for the world from the spider through the secret societies, and these cusp organizations gather together politicians, the bankers, journalists, corporations, all these people, and they basically are the conduit to take the spider agenda and to play it out in the arena. So then you come through the cusp organizations and you hit the mainstream arena. You have governments, you have government agencies, you have banking system. And in the arena of the scene, everything seems to be happening randomly. People are making decisions, and this is where you see the pixels. And then you see the patterns, and you see the picture. So basically, in the world of the scene, everything seems random and unconnected. But if you go to the spider level, they're all controlled by the same force, and they're all working to the same end. From cradle to grave, a human life is a downloaded perceptual program. That's what it is. The education system is simply downloading to a young population perception of reality. And they test you, if you've accepted that level of reality, nature of reality, by exams. And then the media is pounding out the same version of reality. It's based on what I call the postage stamp consensus. This is a narrow band of information that says sense of the possible, what is known as the norm.
Submitting to censorship is to enter the seductive world of the giver. The world where there are no bad words, no bad deeds. But it is also the world where choice has been taken away and reality distorted. And that is the most dangerous world of all.
Access denied.
Censorship is the first act of a criminal government desperate to cover its ill-doings from the people. that it is controlling. There is no reason for censorship other than to prevent people seeing things which you do not want them to see, which may reveal your own activities. Censorship is a very good indication of the level of corruption your government has degraded to. When censorship is introduced, it is a very good indication that your government has now reached a point where it is completely out of control, and the politicians have backed themselves into a corner so far with their criminal actions, and they now need to introduce what is essentially thought crime, which is what censorship is. And of course, the governments always do this in order to cover up their own activities. Censorship is introduced not to cover up that which is dangerous or harmful. It's introduced in order to prevent people from ever asking questions that need to be asked. And governments introduce censorship because they do not want their actions questioned. That's just the way it is. And when the government deems itself to be worthy of dictating what people can, cannot look at, what people can, cannot say, what people can, cannot think, then you have really reached the end of any type of real society at all. In such a situation, there can be no expression of real humanity, there can be no development of genius, no development of new ideas, no thinking outside the box at all. The introduction of censorship is essentially the introduction of thought crime. It is people dictating what you can think, what you can look at, what you can't look at, what is deemed safe for you, what is deemed unsafe for you. Censorship is someone telling you what you can and cannot think, and it's someone else making the decision for you. The introduction of censorship in any society spells a very dangerous time for that society, because history has shown us that first comes the censorship, then comes the disappearances, then comes the imprisonment. Censorship is not acceptable in any progressive society. It's not beneficial to a progressive society. It's not beneficial for human development. It doesn't help anybody except those in power who have a lot to hide. And more people need to speak out about this, because approving of censorship of anyone, approving of the silencing of any voice, is approving of the censorship of yourself. That's the way it works. If you're willing to silence one voice, then you're okay with your own voice being silenced. And that might be okay in your situation in the world today, but what if something happens, you actually see something wrong and you want to say something about it and you can't? What do you do then? That's the thing, folks. People don't realize what censorship really means on a personal level, and they need to think about it. Freedom for all is freedom for all, and freedom of speech is the most basic foundation of freedom. Without that, you have nothing. So this level of censorship simply is not acceptable. Not under any type of government. It doesn't matter who they are. Because freedom of speech is essential to any functional society. This gives the government the ability to be able to do anything, and it removes us of the ability to be able to sound any